Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, the G1 in the New Japan Pro Wrestling promotion gets started. It's the real WrestleMania, people. The AEW Grand Slam kicks off last night with a burner of an opening match between Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. The Dark Side of the Ring Plane Ride from Hell documentary dropped last week and is making waves, and AEW is getting into the Owen Hart business. I probably could have worded that better, but you guys know what I mean. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Dork Side of the Ring. And sitting to my left, as always, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
I don't know why that tickled me. So allow us to bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 224. Chapter 3, verse 14, and the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. The Holy Trinity of BFR. Big week of wrestling. I'm loving this shit. I cannot imagine having to be stuck with watching one professional promotion, whether it be AEW, whether it be WWE, New Japan, MLW, Stardom, whatever the case may be. There's so much fucking wrestling out here. For me, this is a great time to be a wrestling fan.
And out there in Portland, Oregon,
BFR West in the house.
we have Two Beer, Zach Bone. What's going on, Two Beer?
You spin me right round, baby, right round, like Ric Flair's penis, baby, right round, round.
You ain't shit. You going to hell. God damn, you can't even wait.
Man, I've never seen another hetero dude talk so lovingly about another hetero dude's dick like Tommy Dreamer in that documentary. We are coming at you from the beautiful St. Charles, Missouri. It's I'm telling you, fall hit, and man, fall hit. It is nice out here. Finally.
Yeah,
it's a cool 69 degrees,
something like that. Yeah, it's been 60 something all day long.
Nice.
Same day yesterday. So yeah, fall is definitely hit St. Louis, Missouri. I'm kind of glad for it. I'm like this. I don't like winter because I'm just not built for winter. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're from a warm weather people.
Yeah, okay. Whereas 100 year round, we sweat for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
Swim.
Right, that too. Everybody's like, you don't know how to swim? I'm like, man, look. First and foremost, do you know where Africa is? 9 times out of 10, I don't know too many black people that can swim. Number 2, just come to the United States. Do you know many black people with pools? Now, you can take those two things, add them up, and that means Jason can't swim.
And, there was a long time in this country's history where black people weren't allowed in pools because the white people didn't want them in there. But, if you look at Africa as a continent, it's huge. There's lots of coastline. There's also a lot of land in the middle.
Right.
There's tons of land.
It's a shit ton of land. Are you
God,
kidding
how
me?
did we get started on this already? Okay, all right.
I don't know how to swim. Bada boom, blackest guy in the room.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What the fuck? You ain't the blackest guy in the room.
All right. Bottom line, it's nice out. There's tons of shit to get to. Let's just get to that 3 count, you fucking goofballs, man.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, shit.
JCB, kick us off.
By one count, I'm going to start with the one count that I want to talk about personally. New Japan hasn't gotten a lot of love around here in these parts partially because of AEW, partially of the pandemic, but this is my favorite tournament by far. It kicked off on Saturday. The G1 31 Climax tournament started on Saturday morning-ish, give or take. We had 3 nights so far. I'll just go over the first 2 nights just in case some of us haven't caught up to night 3. For me, the biggest takeaway from night 1 was obviously the injury to Naito in the semifinal match versus Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. taps Naito out once again. He did it before in the New Japan Cup in a run where I think it was probably one of the better runs in the tournament where he taps everybody out on the way to winning the New Japan Cup. I believe that was a couple years ago. He continues that run here. I believe this is his 11th submission all-time in G1 tournaments. He taps out Naito, and subsequently Naito gets his knee, I believe it was his meniscus and his MCL injured, so he is now out of the tournament with no points. ZSJ crowing post-match backstage how he took out Naito, did it again in night 3, something to kind of look forward to going down the line. Ishii Shingo, night 1, I thought that was the probably the banger match of the bunch. I just don't know how these two guys don't physically kill each other from just the physical impact of how they get matches done. Can't necessarily look past Takahashi and Kota Ibushi.
Thank you.
I would probably say that's the upset of the tournament so far. Didn't see it coming. It was the opening match of the tournament.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that match. That match was really good.
Well, I mean, you're talking to the person that's discussing it, and my bias is going to come out. To me, losing somebody from the G1 as grueling as it is, 1.5% of participants are basically eliminated by injury. So you're talking about the toughest tournament in professional wrestling.
I'm talking about Takahashi versus Ibushi.
I know. You are asking me to talk about the night 1. To me, the biggest story from night 1 is Naito being out. Now, if you want to switch it and say Yujiro beating Kota Ibushi is the second biggest story, I have no problem with that.
No, I think that you're misreading me. I'm happy that I'm seeing so much feedback about that Takahashi Ibushi match just because I enjoyed it so much. And Takahashi's kind of he's there to eat pins basically. And I understand it's an upset, but I like the story that they're telling with Ibushi not being physically ready to get back in there and Takahashi getting that win. And I like that match a lot. I like Takahashi a lot.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I like the match a lot. Takahashi surprised me. He stepped to the plate. He did it again in night 3. I'm not going to give the spoiler on that, but Yujiro is going to look like he's not going to be the guy like he was last year where you're going to walk over him to get your 2 points. You're going to earn your 2 points with Yujiro Takahashi. I think that's something to look forward to there. Great Okan, Tongaloa, it was what it was. Nothing really to talk about there. Kenta, Jano, that was I guess, more of the same from their last match where it was a lot of tape and not handcuffs, but just taping each other up on the outside, blah, blah, blah. Night 2, whatever. God, I hate that motherfucker. Evil and Yoshihashi started off night 2. Typical Bullet Club fuckery to get Evil over. Jeff Cobb, like I said, that's been my pick all the way through. I think he takes B-Block and the whole thing. He starts off right. He beats Chase Owens. Sonata and Tamatonga had an interesting match. I think, to me, going into it, it was a coin flip. Sonata takes that. Tai Chi and Goto. I think Goto is always underrated, but for whatever reason, he steps up in G1s.
Agreed.
He and Tai Chi had a good match. Tai Chi goes over, and then the instant classic of the first 2 nights, you had Okada and Tanahashi to close out night 2 of the B block. This goes down to literally the last 30 seconds where Okada finally looks like he's going to maybe shed the money clip. He goes back to the Rainmaker. The Rainmaker serves him well. He gets the win over the Ace to get the 2 points. So the first couple of nights, like I said, for me personally, Naito going out is the biggest story.
Yep.
Yujiro beating Ibushi is probably the second biggest story. Okada and Tanahashi continuing their instant classics. Shingo and Ishii with another banger-ass match. That, to me, is like the big bullet points for the first couple of nights.
What are your biggest takeaways, Zach?
Yeah, I was really surprised with some of the upsets, but, I mean, that is G1, but my bracket was busted literally first night, and pretty wild. But really, the fact that we had 2 classic matches in both nights, I haven't watched last night. I'll watch it whenever we get done here this evening.
Ooh, there's a banger last night, too.
So we had Go ahead.
I was going to say my favorite match of the first 3 nights was night 3.
Oh, wow. Well, that's saying something because,
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
Okada and Tanahashi is always great. Literally 2 of the best to have ever done it. And I don't just mean like right now. I don't just mean New Japan. I mean 2 of the best dudes to ever get in the squared circle having this historic rivalry. I mean, you can watch all kinds of these. And obviously the story of this match, they were wrestling like it was going to be a draw, slow start, fighting over headlock. Just very smart professional wrestling, good storytelling.
Kevin Kelly put it over too. They were talking about how they've had 3 G1 draws in the past.
Yes, 3 G1 draws, and a lot of these matches went long, and I do think that a draw will be, I don't know with Naito being out, if this changes things for the long-term story of the tournament, but I feel like there will be a draw, like, because they kind of like are telling the story. But it wasn't tonight, or it wasn't that night, and these guys just put on an absolutely classic match, and like we're like 28 minutes in, and they really start turning up the heat, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just so good. And I'm like, it can't end. I was like, Okada hasn't thrown the drop kick, and then at like 29 minutes he throws the drop kick, and it's just perfect every time he does it. It's always perfectly timed, and he gets so high. But I can't talk enough good about this match. I watched it twice. Another one I watched twice for different reasons. Shingo and Ishii. These guys are 2 of the best to have ever done it. Again, 2 of the best dudes to ever get in the squared circle. And I hope that in 50 years they are recognized for it as such. Tanahashi and Okada are going down as all-time greats. These guys should also, because these guys are the workhorses and just go out and give you the perfect match night after night after night after night and just give it their all. And, man, this match was phenomenal. They're just beating the shit out of each other. The only thing I could have done without is the sick headbutt. We don't need another Shibata on our hands. And I don't know if Ishii's just the greatest seller in the universe. I know he's fantastic, even though a lot of people's idiots problem with him. They say he doesn't sell. That's not true at all.
Yeah, that's not true at all. Ishii is a tremendous seller.
It's because he does that fire up and he'll like pop up after a German and then he'll sell. But some people don't like that. But anyway, the dude, like, they just murdered themselves in this match. And by the time it's over, Ishii's crawling to the back. He's got one boot off. Like, I don't know if he fucked up his ankle and he was like taking it off like for swelling. He wears those like short boots. And he's like just trying to make it to the back before he collapses. And he just doesn't. Like, he collapses, like, right as he gets to the curtain.
Shit, his hand was fucking swollen after the end of that Shingo match. His right hand.
Oh, his right hand was fucked up. I mean, it was legitimately fucked up. So, I don't know. I'm like, is he the greatest seller ever with the collapse? Or, like, do we really need to worry about Ishii? But I feel like no matter what, he's just going to get up and do it again. He's just going to keep doing it. But
I was just getting ready to say, I saw night 3, answer, don't worry about it. Ishii's just fine.
But it is just so great to be able to watch them, no matter what the evolution of professional wrestling is. This is some of the best shit ever. And I feel privileged to be able to watch it in real time as it's happening. Like, if my grandson eventually got into wrestling, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I was watching Ishii, Shingo Takagi, getting high as fuck.
Is that a Bob Dylan impression?
A little bit.
Maybe. That was me in 40 years, but,
Get ready to say that Bob Dylan's on PFR?
What is this our 4th G1 or our 5th G1 that we've talked about on this show? I feel like we say it every year. Well, the first couple of years, I had no idea. But the last few years, Ishii is the guy, he's not gonna win. He's not gonna win either block, but he's the guy that they trust him enough to put him in the main event of night 1. They trust him to put him up against anybody, and he's always gonna have a banger match. The Stone Pitbull, love him. Clearly, Jason's right. The biggest takeaway is Naito's gone after night 1. Total bummer, and that fucks a lot of people's brackets up. I wish that they would have replaced him with somebody. Maybe Yujiro would have been, the other Takahashi.
He's a junior. He can't do it.
Well,
Hiromu.
Hiromu's, but he's fighting in these special matches that are going to be taking the place of these other ones.
Okay, so let me try to do it a better job of it. It would be like saying Will Ospreay could replace Naito when he was still battling in the junior heavyweight. He was still classified as a junior heavyweight.
Fair enough.
I get what you're saying. And, yeah, could you replace Naito? Yeah. Would I want them to? Yeah. The way they're doing it is that whoever's not...
It's a forfeit.
Everybody's gotten their points, but nobody's getting a night off. Whoever was supposed to wrestle Naito wrestles somebody else. So, in theory, they're still wrestling those 9 matches. It's just they've already gotten those points, but now they have to go through the physical labor of winning the match itself. Tangaloa versus Nagata was today's replacement match. Or
Spoiler,
whatever.
Tangaloa won.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of where I'm going with it. And he was walking out of the match with a little limp with the knee. So now I was like, okay, so is this going to be something that we have to look forward to moving forward? So as much as I don't like not having somebody to replace Naito, guys that are replacing Naito might have some sort of bearing moving forward. What if so-and-so gets an injury?
It also has historical implications because this is the first G1 ever where Jano is going to end up with more points than Naito. But, I mean, it's about time that they started booking them right.
Dude, I'm going to fucking punch you. I swear to God. I fucking swear to God.
Now, listen, without giving away Night 3 spoilers, I said this before I watched Night 3 earlier today, and I hope this doesn't give anything away, but I did say that this gives Zack Sabre Jr. lots of bragging rights. He's going to be able to be the cocky heel saying, I took Naito out. And this is as good a time as any to have Zack Sabre Jr. win the A block. Sorry. Yeah, the A block. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm a Zack Sabre Jr. mark. Ibushi Takahashi, very fun. Like I already said, I like the story that they're telling. Great-O-Khan, Tangaloa. Couldn't have said it better than Jason. It was what it was. Jano versus Kenta. The bell rang, and they probably didn't touch each other for another 6 minutes. I'm a big fan.
Dude, I hated this match.
Thank you.
I like Jano, but...
Come on, man. Somebody be the voice of reason around here besides me. Jesus Christ.
I thought it would have been funny if Jano just would have walked up the ramp and taken the count out. That being said, they tease a count out a lot in G1. I can't remember the last time somebody got counted out as a loss. So it would be nice if somebody got counted out as a loss one time just to keep it.
Oh, I'm sure we have to just look up some Jano matches because that's the count out loss.
I think Jano did it to Zack Sabre like 2 years ago.
I'm talking about not even as a gimmick, like joke thing where somebody's taped out, like where somebody actually loses as a count out. Like Okada always takes 18 or 19 seconds before he rolls back in, and I get it, kayfabe style, that is a good strategy, but they have to pay it off sometime, in my opinion. Shingo Ishii, violent as fuck, loved it. I want to talk about Evil Yoshihashi for a second. Yoshihashi is a fun babyface and easy guy to root for, especially when he's facing somebody like Evil. And everything before the Dick Togo interference during the Evil match, I was cool with. Like, it was perfectly watchable to watch Evil and Yoshihashi. We knew it was going to come. I don't mind it because there's been years past where we had Bad Luck Fale where there was bullshit happening and Jay White where there was bullshit happening. It seems like the only guy where there's outside interference this year in the entire tournament is Evil. And 1 out of every 10 matches, every 2 nights with some outside interference, WWE bullshit, for lack of a better term, I'm fine with. But when it's going to bother me is when Evil is in matches that are of consequence towards the end of the tournament, and to have that bullshit come in when, let's say, Evil's fighting, I think he's fighting Okada next week, or tonight, I guess. But if it's Evil versus Cobb, And Cobb is your dude. You called him, and I like Cobb a lot too. If Evil costs Cobb, if Dick Togo costs Jeff Cobb the B block, I'll have real heat with him.
I'm not gonna get that fired up just yet. I do expect fuckery when it comes to Evil, but as long as, like you said, as long as it kind of stays within reason. Tama Tonga is another guy that's gonna have Jano at ringside, so there's another guy that could have some fuckery coming with him as well. If we can keep it within reason, I'm not gonna get too upset. I still think Jeff Cobb beats Evil regardless of fuckery, to be perfectly honest. He's been booked that strong, I think, that strongly that he wins the block and the tournament.
I hope so. Sonato versus Tama Tonga was my favorite Sonata match in a long time.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
I liked it.
I like Tama Tonga on the singles run.
I do too. Taichi versus Goto. Taichi's he's the man. But I'd rather cede my time to Okada versus Tanahashi, which, like Zach said, was an instant classic. I mean, that's a 5-star match. That's an incredible 29-minute, 36-second match, which Okada cut a promo afterwards talking about, well, I think he brought up the Rainmaker. I only kind of watched it afterwards, but if the whole plan was with Okada that he was kind of unhealthy, that he was playing hurt, so to speak, and to let himself heal up because he did so much damage to his body. Kevin Kelly said it. He goes, when most guys are hitting their peak, a lot of people are hitting their prime, a lot of people are thinking that Okada is past his because he's 32 or 33 or whatever.
Sounds right.
So if he was using that money clip and the money clip didn't get over to the point where all of a sudden the Rainmaker becomes a true finisher where one Rainmaker takes you out, because the Rainmaker had been, for lack of a better term, watered down because it had been kicked out of so many times in these huge matches, just these matches that kept getting bigger and bigger with Omega. They kept getting bigger and bigger. So if Okada's plan was to take a year and a half off from the Rainmaker, try to get the money clip over so then the Rainmaker becomes a big deal again, then I think we're looking at Okada as the favorite in this tournament. Am I crazy, Zach?
No, not at all. I actually chose Okada to win the block and have like another Okada Shingo, have an Okada Shingo final. I like the Cobb pick as well, but that was my original choice because Okada is not past his prime. Okada's still a top guy. And it is funny because he seems older than he is because he's kind of wise beyond his years, but he's got so much more gas in the tank. I mean, Tanahashi's 14 years older than him. Yeah. And, I mean, Tanahashi's still one of the best in the world every night that he goes out there. So, I don't think you can ever count Okada out. Plus, he probably has the highest salary in the entire company. So, like, you're not gonna let him rest on his laurels for too long. You're going to utilize him.
Do you think that that's the story that he was trying to tell? Because we got so frustrated with him with the money clip bullshit over and over and over again. But if the whole thing was to kind of sandbag everybody so that the Rainmaker becomes the finisher that it once was, it's kind of genius.
It's genius.
It's hard to argue, man.
I mean, Okada was, and Kevin Kelly made a good point about it. You kind of already said it, where what if Okada was like, fuck it, I'm going to let the field catch up a little bit. I've been so dominant for so long. I'm going to slow down, the Taurus and the hair scenario when he brought that up. I'm going to let these guys catch up, and then once they catch up, I'm going to, kick it back into gear again. I'm not turning away from the Jeff Cobb pick. I'll just say this. If Okada wins, I will not be surprised. It should go down to the last night. I haven't even looked at the schedule, but Okada-Cobb should be one of the last matches of the B block, if not the last match of the tournament. It's going to come down to whoever wins that match, honestly. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. These other guys are good, but there's one real story in the B block, and that's Okada versus Jeff Cobb.
Before we move on, a real quick shout out to Kevin Kelly and Chris
Charlton.
It makes a huge difference having those dudes in the building, and
They're so good.
They're so good together. They're so good individually. Chris Charlton has an almost encyclopedic knowledge of New Japan,
Yes.
and Kevin Kelly is also just an A+ play-by-play guy
Him
who
and Excalibur, pick them up, whichever one you want.
knows the product, loves the product, and it makes a big difference having them in the room. If they were listening right now, I'd say thank you guys for making the flight over there. It makes a big difference, and that's a long trip for those guys. They're both family guys too. So, night 1 and night 2 delivered in a big way. Night 3 delivered in a big way too. I can't wait to talk to Zach about it. And it's G1.
Wow.
It's G1 season, baby. It's fun. It's the best.
I know we're getting ready to move on. I just want to say this really quick. I know a lot of people were kind of down on the G1. People I saw on Twitter were like, it's not going to be that good. It's not as loaded as it used to be. It's not as many names. Look, after 3 nights, I'm already invested into the G1.
Fully.
I want to see where this goes from here.
Me
Even
too.
without my boy in it, there's plenty of stories to be told. There'll be feuds that come out of this, even past whoever wins the actual tournament itself. So,
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting 5 4-star matches every night, but you're getting, I would have given both main events night 1 and 2. Those are 5-star matches in my opinion. So
I'd say the main event night 3 is
at least 4 stars.
at least 4 stars. Yeah, Sabre Jr. versus Shingo is a banger.
Okay. And if you don't if you don't subscribe to New Japan, tonight's or this morning's show is free. So this is a golden opportunity to at least dip your toe in the water of New Japan. Check it out. If you don't like it, you can come tell me to go fuck off. If you do like it, then you can come tell me, thank you, Jason. You were right because Zach put me onto it, so now I'm putting somebody else onto it.
Right.
Pay it forward type shit.
You could log on and not have to pay for it, but you can watch 5 entertaining matches. Jeff Cobb is fighting. I don't have the actual matches in front of me, but Okada, Tanahashi, Taichi. Go get yourself some. Let's get to that 2 counts.
1, 2, 3.
2 beer. What's the 2 count?
2 count is we're back to Hyperbole Lane.
What's the corner? It's a Hyperbole Lane, and what's the? We got to give the other street name a name of some sort.
It's on the corner of Omega and Danielson. So,
You bet not say it's match of the year. You bet not.
I mean, it's
You bet not.
in the contender.
Jesus
It's a ranking.
Christ.
It's definitely it was as good as the Tanahashi Okada match. It's in that conversation. It was less of a spectacle than that tag match in the cage, but it was definitely the best match seen on TV all year. I'd be hard pressed to think of a better match on TV.
Don't let him talk you off the ledge, Zach. I'm right there with you, man. Do not
It's
let
not match of the year. Are you serious right now?
Do not.
Are we serious? Are we serious?
What's your? You obviously feel strongly about it. What's the argument against?
Match of the year. Okay, and we're not just giving it for TV. Okay, we're talking
That's
pay-per-view.
right.
We're talking the
wasn't
whole
either.
shebang.
I don't think he was
This could have
either.
been on a
Okay,
pay-per-view.
so on September, what is this, 23rd? On September 23rd, 24th, we're naming this match the match of the year.
Well, match of the year so far is what he's saying.
Jesus Christ.
He's not saying it's better than any match that's going to come. He's
It's in
just
the conversation.
at the end of the year when we do our beefers. Do you think we're not going to talk about Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson?
We should talk about it. Should be on the final 3 list. I don't know about that.
Do you have ones that you would put on it ahead of it?
I have at least a couple that I can think of off the top of my head that I think would be better.
Like
with
what?
stakes on the line.
Yeah, go ahead and say.
Ospreay Shingo, I think easily.
Okay. Yeah, that's also in the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Do you
To
think
me-
Do you think Zach is saying that's not in the conversation? Ospreay Shingo?
No, I said don't
You're
say
being
this
hyperbolic.
is no. I said don't say this is match of the year. Saying basically this is the one above
He's
all
saying
others,
match
no
of the year
matter what.
He's saying match of the year contender. You're being
Yeah,
hyperbolic by
no,
shitting on it.
No, I didn't shit on it.
You
Okay,
kinda shit? No,
I didn't-
shitting
no.
on him. You're shitting on Zach Pullman.
Whatever. I'm trying to keep that man off the ledge. Is what I'm trying to do. Shit.
Go ahead, Zach. Thank you for getting us riled up. It's been a
Yeah,
while
it's
since
in
Jason and I yelled at each other.
It's in the conversation, so that's all I'm getting at. So, but as far as hyperbole, best TV match, at least in a very long time. I mean, I loved the Ray Phoenix Nick Jackson match, and also the Kenny Omega, what's his name, Pac match, and the Iron Man match, which also went 30 minutes and kicked off a show. So, those are other ones to talk about. But I mean, this thing ruled, and I know some people weren't happy with the draw. I expected it. Said last week, Danielson goes over, but when you really kind of think about business, like what are you going to do to build intrigue to another match and protect your champion who had just lost a, match, and he doesn't normally lose. He had just lost a match. You don't really want him to lose twice in a month. So what do? I mean, this is what you do. You have them go out for half an hour with limited commercial breaks and just put on a goddamn clinic. And it was awesome. I mean, Danielson's selling and just like the little things that they were doing. It was just exactly what I expected it to be. And it had a ton of expectation to live up to, a ton of hype, and it absolutely delivered. I mean, can't really speak too much more highly.
Jason, what did you think about that opening match?
So I got home last night, fed the cats, and got my head right, and I was like, okay, let's watch some Dynamite. And I was watching this shit, and I'm like, they're going through the lineup, what matches are on the show. And then JR was like, and we're going to kick off the show with Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega. I'm like, what the fuck? This is the opening match? You've got to be bullshitting. So, of course, I'm waiting, they both come out. I'm like, no fuckery, nobody's jumped. This is going to open the fucking show. That's how crazy this roster is. That's how crazy this whole scenario is. You open the show like this, I'm like, God damn. And don't get me wrong, burner ass match. Both guys were giving it to each other back and forth. Kenny's working on Bryan Danielson's neck. Daniel Bryan's is working on his fucking arm, trying to set up the bell lock. Stories running amok. I loved this match. I love the fact that it went into a draw. I love the fact they didn't count down the minutes to the draw. So then the fans were all of a sudden like, when the bell rang, everybody's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? It was perfect. The only thing, and this is a small nitpick, the only thing wrong with this is that you couldn't follow it up. Nobody could. They threw CM Punk out there afterwards, and CM Punk's first words was, how can you follow that? Everything else suffered in comparison, but it didn't matter ultimately, at least from my personal perspective. We got the match that I personally wanted to see. Nobody won. Both guys got over, and you are planting seeds for the long-term
So
story.
the only nitpick that you had with this match was that you couldn't follow it up. Yet, you bucked when Zach said it was a match of the year contender. Okay,
No,
all
that's
right.
not
Now,
what I said.
I'm
See,
turning off your mic. I'm just turning off your
that's
mic.
not
Okay,
what, see,
let me turn it
you
off.
need to listen and go back to listen to what I said.
You just agreed with everything that he said.
I said is this match the year? I said, is this match the year? Question mark.
Match of the year contender.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So get it right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me talk about my night last night. So, it was my wife and I's ninth wedding anniversary, and obviously we have a infant here at the house. My sister came over and watched the baby while we went out and got dinner. So we were gone for like 2 hours. Came back.
Where'd you guys go?
We went to this place called Bellavino. It's this tapas place. It was pretty good. tapas, it's a really fun way to eat. Whenever you go to the tapas place and the tapas server always has to let you know that tapas is a really fun way to eat. Have you ever eaten tapas before? Oh, have you ever been here?
No. As a matter of fact, no, I have not.
It's a really fun way to eat. I like tapas. I
bag up pizzas, Sogo, Dogo.
Bring me out that food. Anyway, I got home and my sister and Aaron were talking about baby stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna check Twitter, and I'm gonna turn on the TV.
On over to the TV.
I shouldn't.
What's happening here?
I turned on Facebook, and I shouldn't have. And
yeah,
I saw that it was a draw, and I was like, fuck. And I was like figuring it was the main event, but I got home at like 9:00, and I was like, this says it was an hour ago. And then I turned it on, and I had the same reaction you was. I was like, oh, they're open with this shit, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. And my experience was only slightly diminished by knowing the outcome. It was of course, it was a banger of a match. It was everything that you wanted that match to be. It was everything it could be. There is nothing, you cannot undersell what a crowd does to guys that are giving it their all, and how that energizes the guys and in turn energizes the crowd, and it's all one being. You know what I mean?
It felt like a pay-per-view match.
Oh, it felt like the biggest match
TV.
It felt like the biggest match of all time.
Yeah.
It really did.
It felt like, I was like, oh shit, this shit's getting ready to happen. God damn.
Even the announcers were so great about it. Not much more I can add to that. I'll following it up with Punk. Obviously, Punk is like, I'm so glad I didn't have to follow. I'm so glad I don't have to wrestle it tonight. The next match on the card was MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. I thought this was really smart because MJF is such a motherfucker that he can always get heat. And this was really smart to follow it up. And, say what you will, they got that crowd back. That crowd was exhausted after that match. CM Punk, they were polite to him, but, CM Punk was in an almost impossible position, even as being CM Punk.
Which is hard to say.
Sounds crazy to say.
Yeah.
Having the MJF Brian Pillman Jr. match after that, I'll say this, and I'm as critical of AEW. When AEW needs to be criticized, they should be criticized. I have zero problems with the way that this night was laid out, with the booking on this night, with the way the matches went on this night, with the match order. I have zero problems with it. It went Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan, Young Bucks and Jester Express come out, Punk, MJF, Brian Pillman Jr. You have Jericho and Hager cut a backstage promo. You have Cody versus Malachi Black. This was a really fun match to me. Also really strange that the crowd turned on Cody. Did not see that coming. I can't. We can talk
Thoughts
about
on that. Yeah,
we can talk about why that happened. But Sammy Guevara and Miro have a package for their match coming up next week for the TNT title. Sting, Darby Allin versus FTR was a fucking super fun tag team match. That was
what the fuck did you just say?
Really well constructed tag team match. Like I said, man, you cannot undersell how much a crowd does for stuff like that. That crowd was hot as shit for that match. And then Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. I have no problems with any of the booking decisions. I don't have anything bad to say about this. What do you think, Zach? Why do you think the crowd turned against Cody, especially facing a guy like Malachi Black?
I think there's a couple possibilities. I think people really want to cheer Malachi Black because he is such like just kind of a cool heel, and people like him and they're excited that he's there. And it's kind of a smart crowd because it's a big city crowd, it's a smart crowd. Cody did get cheered last week whenever he came down, kind of like mostly because of the nature of the segment, right? He was like rushing down to Rosario Dawson's aid, like real babyface stuff, and also like there was a brawl, right? And so Cody was getting cheers. I think Cody kind of intentionally worked pretty heelish in this match when he recognized the reaction that he was getting. I don't know if it was like a plan. He's like, oh, they're going to boo me. I'm going to work heel. But he kind of turned, he dialed up that heelness. He's good at that. Like, those one night kind of, not heel turns, but those one night heelish performances where he can just kind of turn it up a little bit. He did it a lot as TNT champion whenever there would be like a really over indie guy that came in, like Eddie Kingston, like to wrestle him. He would kind of turn that up. Part of it, he's really leaning pretty hard into this like real jingoistic stuff, and it might not be resonating, or it might be.
I was gonna say him coming out in the cape. It's like, are you
Homelander, dude?
You're trying to be a heel, right? Like coming out in the cape.
Homelander, man. That's all I'm saying.
And so that seems like it could be intentionally generated to get heat, and it could be this kind of ploy to go that direction. I don't know. I think he's a great babyface. I think he has potential. Like, we've seen him as a heel, and he's good at that. But those like real fiery babyface promos, he's one of the best to ever do it when it comes to that shit. So I think it would be maybe not the best thing, especially when you got a new reality TV show where you're probably going to come off, pretty charming, if that's the point. I don't know. It was interesting. I'm interested to see another week, where it's not this particular circumstance. I'm just interested to see kind of how it plays out.
What do you think, Jason?
I lean towards Zach saying that this was more so for the crowd cheering Malachi Black versus booing Cody. I think if it was anybody across from Malachi Black, I think Malachi Black would have been in the crowd's favor. Did it catch me by surprise? Yeah, it caught me by surprise, just in the fact of how boisterous it was. It was almost like Cody was the heel, and by storyline purposes, he's not the heel by any stretch of the imagination. That, to me, was how, crazy it was, in just the sense of, how the crowd reacted. That said, I don't have a problem with that. I get why, Queens wanted Malachi Black to go over. Even with the fuckery, they still cheered him afterwards. I don't think it's an indictment on Cody Rhodes per se, at least not right now. I think it's more so Malachi Black has the love of the fans, and he said it kind of like you can kind of see him wording, before the match, this is the House of Black. This is the House of Black to Cody. So I think it's more so, fans behind Malachi Black.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It seemed like I'll tell you what. If you
let's play devil's advocate for 30 seconds. If Cody was facing Lance Archer in that spot, do you think he gets booed like that?
Yes.
You really do?
I do.
Wow. Okay.
And you know why? I think it's because Cody has kind of slummed the past few months in feuds against Anthony Ogogo and QT Marshall, where it's almost like he's trying to get these guys over, but he's not really getting them over. And there is a such thing as momentum, even amongst when you're talking about smart crowds. I just think that the bloom is off the rose in terms of everybody loving Cody for bringing AEW, because now he's not as associated with it, and he almost seems like I also saw some comments from him, and I don't know if they were real or not. Like, I think it was on Ringside News or something, where he was talking about how he never wants to be a heel ever again.
Saw that.
And I don't know if that was, that clearly could have been a work just to get people to start booing him. But Malachi Black certainly wasn't playing a babyface.
No.
I think that it might be by design. If it's not by design, it's not surprising. If it's not by design, Cody played into it really well throughout the match.
I agree with that. That felt like
it felt like
a call.
Well,
an audible or whatever.
Yeah, the one that I always think of, and maybe the most famous one, is Rock Hogan in Toronto.
For sure.
That, when Rock started playing heel, where he came in as the babyface, fucking tremendous match.
One of my favorite matches of all time.
But that's the one that always comes to mind. But it
was
was
funny because it's all about crowd reaction too. Like with that match, like it's not like the match was particularly great. It's all because the crowd is
it's
the
just
hottest the crowd
because
has ever been.
Right, and Toronto and New York City were doing things that we didn't expect them to do.
Well, and Cody really started working that leg in kind of a dirty way, and he also had a really dirty spot towards the end. It wasn't a low blow, but it was something like
He shoved the ref.
Oh yeah, he shoved the ref. That's right. And then Malachi Black's hit him with the mist. Yeah, he shoved the ref, which if that was an audible, fucking good on you, man. I mean, he's always been good at telling a story in the ring. That was always he's never been the most athletic guy, That's always been his forte as Dusty's kid.
Bumping into Arn Anderson, I think, is one of those things that kind of went unnoticed.
Well, was that a shoot or a work where Arn slipped
fell
before?
I think that was a shoot. I think that was
I
legit happened. He was trying to get from one
because
side to the other.
Because the announcers didn't know what to say.
Right. And then when he bit
and Brandy didn't know what to do either.
The crowd was, the crowd really was like, oh, so that led me to believe that this was something that was not supposed to happen.
Yep.
It happened where he was trying to get from one side to the other so they can bump into each other and set up the finish.
It was just Arn being an old man and slipping off the apron.
Not even that. That is what it is. People slip. That shit happens.
I'm just defending the old guys, okay?
No, I'm defending one of the greatest horsemen of all time. In this scenario, don't overlook the fact
Mondo?
that... Dude, I will fuck you up. Don't overlook the fact that there was dissension between Cody and Arn. That might be something to look forward to.
Well, Arn was like, get the fuck back in the ring. What are you doing over here?
Right.
I really like the match. Did you guys, I think the hardest I popped all night was when Miro was cutting his promo on Sam Guevara. I'm sorry, Zach, did you have anything else to say about Cody Black?
Not that match, no.
When Miro was cutting that promo about Sam Guevara, and what I really appreciate about this was that Miro's like, oh, you think I'm a heel and you think I was too hard on Fuego del Sol? He's like, well, I broke my neck in 2012 and he was trying to hurt my neck. He's like, which I appreciate. It's the heel that has a point. And then he goes, it's for my God and my wife to take care of this body. God wants the pain, but my wife wants the pleasure. And then the music stops and he goes, sometimes pain too.
I'm like, dude, I'm done. I'm done. I'm like, man, this motherfucker here. I'm like, between Ruby Soho and Miro, I'm like, you couldn't let either one of these two jokers talk and make the crowd entertained. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Miro in AEW has really solidified his character into something. I mean, God's favorite champion is God. I'm so glad I've been right about him the whole time. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on that, Zach?
Oh yeah, I mean he's doing the best work of his life right now. I mean Rusev Day was a cult thing and it was fun, but you can tell he's really having fun with this and really gunning for CJ Perry to come in. And I mean it's not going to be a game changer or anything, but it would get a nice little pop. And
can you imagine if
cool.
you're somebody that doesn't know who his wife is and hear every single promo he cuts, he talks about how hot his wife is? It's such a good gimmick, and she is. So
if you don't know, you're probably just like, well, I mean, you look at him and he's so handsome, but you're probably like, yeah, she probably is pretty hot. But if you don't know and you're just like, yeah, this guy probably, doesn't, and then she comes in and yeah, she is smoking gorgeous.
She's something.
But yeah, and I love, like, I don't know, you see her like social media and like she's like very playful.
Yeah, she plays into
it sexual way too. And I think with them being a little bit more PG-13, I think that they could really have something if they brought her in. Have something fun. Like I said, not game changing, but you guys think Sammy takes the title? I could see it. I really do.
If anybody could take it, he would be he's at the right level as like mid card, but kind of leaning towards upper mid card. I could see him taking it. I don't see him taking it off of Miro right now.
I can see it happening. It wouldn't surprise me if it did. I almost lean to going to say that he will win the title because it almost feels like Miro is kind of growing out of the TNT title where Sammy can grow into it. He can get the rub from Miro. I'll say it. Fuck it. Yeah, Sammy wins on Friday night.
Is that this Friday or next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, I'm sorry.
We had Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR in a tag match. Crowd super hot for this match.
Dude, a tag match built all around Sting, and he carried it as a 62-year-old man. This match was about Sting. He was awesome.
What are you looking at me like that?
You know why I'm looking at you like this.
He was great. This was great. I was...
Wait, who was great?
Sting.
What about Darby Allin?
He was great.
Really?
FTR was great. Tully Blanchard was great. The way this match was laid out was great. I loved how Tully Blanchard put the chair there, and Wheeler or Dealer or whatever the fuck their names are.
Jesus
the one he got out of the way, and Sting almost splashed the chair, and then stopped, and then turned around and ran his head into the chair. It was great. I loved the whole thing.
And
the coffin drop on the apron.
NWO trunks.
Yeah, the coffin drop on the apron too at the end was fucking awesome. It looked violent.
Yeah.
Hey,
it was really well done.
Here's what I say on my politics Twitter. If you're not a partisan hack, you can just focus on ideas. If I'm not a partisan hack when it comes to wrestling, and Zach, I know you don't know why I'm saying this. It's because Jason's giving me a look like I just said the earth was flat. I can take everything as it comes. I can see a match, and if I've always said Darby Allin and Sting are not my favorites. They're not my style, but I can appreciate a good match when I see it. I loved it. I loved the match, and the crowd was great. Zach, what did you think?
Oh, I loved it. It was super fun. I expected whenever this whole Sting Darby Allin thing came around and that they said Sting was going to be wrestling, I expected, Darby to sell a whole bunch because he's a great babyface and he's a smaller guy and he sells really well. And I expected him to hot tag for a Stinger Splash and a Scorpion Death Drop or a Scorpion Death Lock. I thought that would be the formula for the matches, and nobody would ever say this is tired because, it's classic, it's traditional, it's tried and true, and, he protects the guy. And meanwhile, Sting's just out here just completely not taking the match in a way that I'm the star, right? Where Hogan or somebody would, where Hogan would just be like, they're here to see me, brother. I'm going to get all my shit in. He's just in there and people love him when he's in there. And he just did a great job, and FTR sold fantastically for them. You can tell FTR is having
they
a
were
great
awesome
time in there with them. And I saw a bunch of people butt hurt because FTR didn't win. And it's just like, dude, they did not lose anything losing this match.
Not at all. Jason, what did you think of the match?
Two Beers stole my thunder. I'm one of those butt hurt kind of guys. So I'm sorry if wins and losses are going to mean something and we're going to, put that out front. I have a hard time, looking at this match, as fun as it was and as exciting as it was. FTR should win this match. I'm sorry. You can't tell me that Sting and Darby Allin all of a sudden are going to be a team that has this kind of legacy, supposed legacy coming in to this match. It's a tough pill to swallow. I get why it happened. Send the fans home with a nice little memory. Should it happen? Not so much.
While you were watching it, did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't believe I'm on the other side of this now. What the fuck happened to us, Jason? Here we are. Who thought we'd be here? Not me. It's like that Paul Rudd. That Paul Rudd meme. Who thought we'd be here?
It would
Not
be
me.
no different. I'm consistent on this. I always think that the established tag team should beat the team that should just get together or have just been together for such a short period of time.
But, in kayfabe, Sting is one of the greatest of all time.
I'm not
also
disagreeing with that.
So, if we're looking at it from kayfabe, which is the way that we're doing it, in the way that you and I and Zach are talking about it right now.
Who's won the AEW Tag Team Championships? FTR.
Young Bucks? I don't know.
No, FTR's won. Between those two teams, Darby and Sting and FTR.
But Darby's
There's one championship reign between them two.
They've been together for a year, though, right?
There's one championship reign between the two.
Okay, so, well, I mean, it's really nice then for the old veterans, FTR, to put Sting over. The main event was Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. They had a really fun exchange on Rampage. A really fun exchange on Rampage. I think it was is the shoot that Ruby Soho got Britt Baker into wrestling. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, she trained her.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that she trained Britt Baker. I don't know if she opened the door, but they have trained together. Ruby Soho obviously been in the game for like 10, 12 years. I think that's what they said. And part of that journey is bringing Britt Baker into the door. They kind of, talked about that on Friday Night's Dynamite's promo.
Britt Baker's greatest match in AEW is that Thunder Rosa match.
Thunder Rosa and Sheeta.
Oh yeah,
1 and
no
2.
doubt.
This match should not disappoint though, and I didn't feel like it was a letdown as a main event on a card as stacked as this. As a title match, I'm glad that it went on last, and I have nothing bad to say about this match.
No.
Jason.
No,
Same.
everybody did what I thought they were going to do. Rebel and Jamie Hayter got involved towards the end. That set up the finish. Ruby Soho looks strong from start to basically the end of the match, so she doesn't lose anything from this. Britt Baker, I said it when I was watching it last night, the Britt Baker character is over, mega over. Okay, there's no two ways around that. There's no argument about that. To me, she's like on a Becky Lynch level of over when it comes to AEW. If she can get the in-ring shit together, she can be really and truly the face of the division. She's the face of the division now because she's the champion. I think she's probably the most over wrestler in AEW on the women's side. If she can get that in-ring shit together and make it look crisp and clean, there's a whole nother level for Britt Baker, in my opinion. What do you think, Tubier?
Oh yeah, and she's made huge leaps and strides since starting in AEW. So she's gotten a lot better, and not just character-wise, like in the ring and stuff. Yeah, you can tell she works hard at it. So
yeah,
probably helps living with Adam Cole. I mean,
yeah, I think by osmosis it should rub off on her. My thing was, especially when AEW first started, it almost feels like 5 years ago, but when AEW first started, Britt Baker was a babyface, and she was not a well-accepted babyface. And then in classic, wrestling, motif, how do we, freshen Britt Baker up? Let's make her a heel. And then from that point, I think fans like to boo Britt so much that making her a heel actually played into getting Britt Baker over to where she is now. Fast forward to being the AEW Women's Champion. And like I said, I think she's one of the faces of the company. I mean, put Kenny Omega, Moxley, Britt Baker, Adam Cole, Bebe, Daniel Bryanson, all these guys are in that little clump of, if I had to say who's the faces of the company, those are guys that I can think of off the top of my head. Young Bucks, same concept. Those are the guys that I can think of. Britt Baker being one of those where she is at least the face of the women's division and arguably one of the faces of the company.
I'll tell you what, the longer we do this podcast, the more I'm turning into a Sting mark.
What's happened to you, dude?
Let's get to that 3 count.
Baby's changed you, man. You got soft.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, you have a daughter, and try not to get a little softer. I promise. I was already on the road.
I'm going to let y'all handle it.
It's already soft as baby shit.
I was about to say, somebody's got to keep this motherfucker hard and strong over this motherfucker. Rake him over the coals, damn it.
All right. The 3 count is AEW came out since we've done the last podcast and said that they are doing the Owen Hart. They are going to honor Owen Hart with a tournament and something called the Owen Hart belt or the Owen Hart trophy.
They're just calling it the Owen. Okay,
they're calling it the Owen. Either way, they are the ones that are honoring Owen Hart, who passed away in 1999 at a WWE pay-per-view after a mishap where he fell from the rafters, hit a turnbuckle, died tragically. The show went on. His widow, Dr. Martha Hart, has refused to do business with Vince in the past, it's complicated. It's not only because the show went on, even though that's something that still to this day is shocking. It's also because there were lawsuits and stuff like that complicated things. Negligence.
They killed her husband.
Yeah. Yes. And that definitely, like somebody said on Twitter, or somebody said on Facebook, I forget which Friends of BFR it was, but somebody said that definitely gives AEW an advantage in the Martha Hart sweepstakes because they're not the company that killed Owen Hart. I mean, it's true. Can't argue with it.
I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, let's just call it a spade a spade. Shout out to Blood Girl Raven. She was the one that tagged us all on Twitter when the news came out. And my dumbass knee-jerk reaction was like, well, damn, come on, WWE, why didn't you do this shit first? And then I was like, quickly reminded that, WWE killed Owen Hart. And at that point, it totally makes all the sense in the world. You can be the hardest of hardcore WWE marks, and you shouldn't have a problem with this. I mean, if you want to call it a quote-unquote accident that Owen Hart died, fine, so be it. But you can't sit up here and blame Martha Hart for not wanting to do business with the WWE at that point anymore. This was total negligence. Two Beers said it. They should have had this done way more carefully, cautiously.
It wasn't Two Beer. I mean, that was the courts. I mean, that was what they were charged with.
I'm just saying that Two Beer said it on this scenario. The courts obviously, confirmed that
Chief
nonsense.
Justice Two Beer Zach
Pullman over here. He's got so many fucking labels on this goddamn podcast doesn't make any sense. The bottom line is that Martha Hart shouldn't want to do business with the WWE. I have no problem with her doing business with AEW. The only thing my question is I don't necessarily like the name. I'd rather it be like the Owen Hart, invitational tournament or something like that. And number two, what's the, who gets what? There's going to be some cup, but then outside of that, is there going to be a title match after that? Something along those lines. I need stakes on this. Outside of that, AEW wins again. I mean, this one by default because, like we said, they killed their husband.
But they might as well do it. I mean, it's by default, but it's an easy decision. Well, Zach, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the partnership makes complete sense. I mean, here you can raise money for the Owen Hart Foundation. You can do so in an ethically kind of appropriate way. You don't have to bend your, beliefs or do anything. Like, Martha doesn't have to, decide to work with WWE, and she can still have Owen be in a wrestling kind of environment, Owen's legacy be in a wrestling environment, and we get him in the video games, we get merch, and by all of this, proceeds will be going towards the Owen Hart Foundation, which does fantastic things, and we get this tournament, which, I mean, we've been clamoring for a tournament in AEW for a while. I don't expect it to be a round robin G1, more of like a single elimination, New Japan Cup type. And maybe
tournaments rule, though.
Up and coming. Yeah, tournaments rule.
That's why the G1 rules, because every match counts.
Yes. And, so I think it's a great thing, especially if you have it be, kind of up-and-comers tournament, but, with, really good talent. And, yeah, I think it's a good move, and I don't think there's a single bad thing somebody can say about this.
So
if you're just a complete Vincel.
I love the term Vincel. It's so good. Let me piggyback off all of that. And then I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. And not because I believe it. It's true devil's advocate. First of all, it's great. Owen Hart's name should live on in wrestling. He's a Hart, for Christ's sake. He died wrestling, more or less. I mean, he died at a show.
Right.
And it was tragic as fuck. And really, it's one of the great what ifs. Shout out to Murray Man and the Sideways in Time pod. It's one of the great what ifs is what would have happened if Owen had lived. Where would he be right now? Because he didn't seem like a guy that was out of control. He was a big time family man. If you've watched The Dark Side of the Ring, the Owen Hart, he seemed like a pretty good dude. His name should be in wrestling. His name should live on in wrestling. Martha Hart is the one who gets to make that decision because she was his wife. She's the mother of his children, and she didn't want to do business with Vince. That's all gravy. The other thing I'll say, Jason talked about the hardest of the hard WWE marks, and I've heard, I've listened to a couple podcasts that have super WWE marks, are, as Zach calls them, Vincels, which I love. They're the fucking worst. I mean, just fucking, they're the biggest
on another planet.
Yeah, they are on another planet. They're like QAnon people or something.
Yes.
It's like, what are you guys thinking? Like, are you really
think this?
Like,
you really think this?
Oh,
wow. Okay.
I know, it's insane. So all that being said, and if you're a Vincel, go ahead and hit us up on Twitter. Tell us why we're wrong.
By all means, please tell me. Please tell me why they're doing business with Saudi Arabia.
Tell me that Bryan Danielson, who sent out an Instagram post the other day, talking about
still
how
got
I wish people could see Vince the way that I see Vince. I'll tell you what, I read that Instagram post and I almost cried when he talked about how they hijacked the show in Seattle, and that was the one night. That was the night that the last time his dad saw him wrestle, and it was the first night his dad ever signed an autograph, and he signed it, Buddy Danielson, father of Daniel Bryan. I mean, that's really touching stuff. Daniel Bryan's very classy, yes. Now I'll play devil's advocate. Does it seem like pandering? Is it pandering? Is it almost or is it just too easy for AEW to be like, okay, we'll take the Owen Hart shit? Yeah, I mean they have the momentum now, and I'm not saying they're doing it as a business move, but they're doing it as a business move. Everything's a business, right?
Tubeer, go ahead. I'll let you defend your corporation first.
No, I mean, it's not mine. I just like it a lot more than others. But I mean, I've definitely, whenever they deserve criticism, I criticize. But
well, shit, I'm right there with you now. I have not said a bad word about AEW in about 2 months. I really haven't.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing well, and this is not like a spur of the moment thing. It's been in the works for a little while. Like, this is not something that you just kind of erroneously, jump onto. Obviously, Martha is going to be careful about, how Owen's name is used. So, I mean, they have to approach it in the right way. And, I mean, there is that cynicism, right? I mean, charity is the new marketing, right? Philanthropy is the new marketing. But at the same time, if it gets money into the right places, then I'm for it. Even if you do the right thing for the wrong reasons. But I think Tony Khan, just growing up, I mean, he's our age, and he grew up watching Owen Hart, and he was probably living in the same area that, he's from Champaign. There's a good chance that he was at Raw as Owen, like whenever it was in St. Louis. And I know I was there that night, and it was a huge bummer. It was super impactful, like, time and, like, part of my life as far as, like, pro wrestling fandom. And, we all wish it would have been different. And I think that even though Tony Khan is a billionaire, and I kind of I'm not going to deal in absolutes. I kind of just generally hate billionaires. He seems like at least a decent one, and I think he'll do right by this. So I don't think he's going to want to mess it up.
Ultimately,
look at the Brody Lee tribute. Just look at the Brody Lee show. I mean, Jesus Christ, he could have done anything, and the dude went above and beyond and rewrote the show at 3 a.m. And it was, I mean, that was one of the greatest episodes of wrestling television ever.
Yeah.
Talk about hyperbole, but that show ruled, and I think he's going to do right by the Owen Hart legacy.
Yeah, that was like the weakest devil's advocate I could have done, but it's really the only thing I could think of.
No, I mean, for me, I'll kind of piggyback on what Two Beers said. Tony Khan comes off as a fan.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh.
Ultimately.
Yep.
You know, if God forbid,
He was a tape trader. Like when he was 12 or whatever, he was a tape trader.
okay,
You know?
God forbid if, you know, I win this Powerball and, you know, I get $500 million or whatever the case may be.
I'm rooting for you.
You better be, because you know it's going to be on when I win. If I could get my own, you know, wrestling promotion, I would be subject to fandom too. And this to me ultimately just speaks of fandom. Yeah, they might be taking advantage of a situation a little bit, but ultimately I don't think it's because of we're trying to, you know, like you said last week, you got WWE down. You want to make sure you keep hammering them, you know, keep them down on the mat. I think having Omega, Bryan Danielson is that kind of a reason, a way to do it. You know, okay, you guys want to do all your champions, you know, Lashley, Reigns, and Big E. I got something for you. We already announced this a week beforehand, and we had a week to, you know, have this, you know, round up to this point.
Yep.
I got one for you real quick. Do you think that they made Natty lose the title in 2 minutes? You think that was related to this?
No, because every match on Raw lasts 2 minutes, and I mean, why were Natty and Tamina still the champions anyway?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say they were on the way out.
I don't think it had anything to do with it. I
get why you say it.
It's a fair question.
I totally get why you say it. See Lana getting thrown through tables for 9 straight weeks. I totally get why you say it. I think it's coincidental at best. I think they were already going to lose the titles. It just so happened this announcement came out. They lost the titles. So be it.
I mean, I'm done with the devil's advocate. Obviously, this is a great thing.
Yeah.
Do you think the AEW right now is as hot as WWE was or WWF was when it was Austin versus McMahon? Because, I mean, this promotion, if you watch that Wednesday night show, that was as hot as a crowd has ever been. Now, that might have something to do with the pandemic and people haven't been able to go to shows for a while.
No.
But goddamn, this product is hot.
I want to see.
It's as fun as wrestling has been since we've started the podcast.
I want to see what they do on Friday, because Friday is another tape show.
Are you saying let's wait and see?
No, I want to see what happens Friday in the sense that it's going to be after Dynamite. So after all this has happened, can you keep that intensity up for another 2 hours? And that second 2 hour show is going to be another good show. Maybe not as great, not as, headlining, with titles and all this other stuff, but you still got good angles on the second 2 hour show. If they can be hot that second time around, that's going to be even more kudos to AEW. I'm not knocking AEW. Since CM Punk,
they could cool down 50% though and still be hot as fuck.
They're still the talk of the wrestling world.
What do you think, Zach? Do you think they're as hot as, because when I think about WWE being as on fire as possible, I'm thinking of Austin, McMahon, that shit, 97, 98, 99.
Yeah, it's like the best it's ever been for that company. So, they don't have the mainstream appeal. I think that they need that Austin 316, right? You would see those shirts everywhere. And I know that you do see Bullet Club shirts, Young Buck shirts, stuff like that.
I saw a dude with a New Japan shirt at the Black Puma show at the pageant a few weeks ago. I was like, hey man, I was like, I got that same shirt. He goes, Okada, right? I go, yeah, man, Okada.
Mark.
Oh, yeah, we're just two marks in the wild.
Dude, I saw a guy wearing a New Japan sweatshirt at a grocery store the other day, and I was like, hey, dude, that's like nice sweatshirt. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, okay. I thought we could have a moment, but guess not.
Not those. Was it Fred Armisen? Not those hipsters in fucking Portland, man.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, like if they don't have like the massive like mainstream appeal, but as far as like the audience that exists, like the audience that currently enjoys pro wrestling, I mean, it is the most exciting time since 1997.
All right.
Sure.
No, and the sad part about, and not even the sad part about, the crazy part about it's more to come.
All right. Well, the thing that I was thinking about when I was watching last night's show, I was like, in most wrestling shows, the most exciting thing that can happen is somebody that's not expected to comes down, right? Like for
sure. AJ Styles is one of my favorite moments because you didn't expect him to come.
AEW has taken everybody. Like it'd be exciting if Kevin Owens came down, but we already know that his contract is not up. It'd be exciting if Sami Zayn came down, but we know that his contract's not up. So I was thinking when I was watching this, I was like, okay, they've brought everybody out. Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk. Like, they hit us over the head with this shit, and now they have to deliver with stories and with matches.
For sure.
And that's a weird place to be for a wrestling promotion, but I'm excited for it. Like, they're doing great.
If they weren't doing a good job, I would be much more hesitant to think that they wouldn't be able to do a good job moving forward. It's baby steps, and that's kind of what I was happy with the fact that they didn't have a winner for the opening match on AEW. So that's just, like I said, there are seeds there. Hangman Page has to come back. We got to figure that out.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's, in this scenario, now I'll say, let's see how this shit plays out, and let's just wait, because there's already a loaded roster, and the guy that everybody wants to be the champion isn't even there.
All right, that'll do it for our 3 count. Go ahead.
Real quick before the 3 count, bringing it back to Owen Hart, who do you guys think, if you thought that the person that should win this tournament would be like the person that you would most like to see wrestle Owen Hart? Owen Hart in his prime wrestles the winner of this tournament. Who would you guys like on the AEW roster to see wrestle Owen?
I mean, I'd say Miro.
I do mine first. What's that?
Miro.
Nice. Mine is Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, I mean, Sammy Guevara was my second one.
Because nobody said it, and I think the technical styles could match up. They're both high flyers to a certain degree. Size is not even. Nobody has an advantage. We said his name. I'm going to say it now. Bryan Danielson and Owen Hart would sound like a really intriguing ass match.
Yeah, it would be fucking great.
Yeah, because they feel like they're the same style in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's get to that 3 count. Or that's going to do it for our 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Soul Taco. No, wait, hold on a second.
That's great.
JJ Twigs and Southampton. No, they're not. No, what? We don't have any sponsors anymore? Okay, well, then let's get to those odds and ends.
This is banned from ringside.
So let's talk about the Dark Side of the Ring. The Dark Side of the Ring, it was the plane ride from hell. And as I understand it, neither of you guys have watched it, right?
I have not watched it yet.
No, I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch. I read the Observers from back then just to kind of see what was reported at the time. And then, of course, I heard about what took place on the Vice show, but I just need to watch it.
So I'll give you my thoughts on it because I did watch it the other night with my baby sleeping on my on my belly. I mean, it was really nice. My wife was sleeping in the recliner. I was just, I mean, Edna May, or as I call her, Edna Guerrero, has watched a lot of wrestling with me. I mean, she watched a lot of Japanese wrestling with me today.
Whether you like it or not.
Well, she sleeps better when she's with me or Aaron than she does sleeping in a bassinet or whatever. Anyway, so there were some things that were not so shocking. The thing that I always knew about the plane ride from hell was that Brock Lesnar and Kurt Hennig got into a massive brawl, and they started. One of them started pushing the other one against the emergency exit at 35,000 feet.
Ooh.
Now, if you know anything about planes, there's no matter how big those guys are, they're not going to be able to open up that shit at 35,000 feet. But I understand it that that people were worried about it. But the big story of it was, and there was a flight attendant who was on the show a lot. She was on the show a lot. I'm sorry I don't know her name. She was a British gal, and she's probably 50 now, so she was 30, 20, 28, 29, 30 then. And Flair came down. So the plane was on the tarmac for 7 hours because there was weather in the U.S. They were flying out of London.
Okay.
And there was weather in the U.S. So the plane was on the tarmac for 7 hours. So these guys were just drinking and drinking and drinking. And apparently they were GHBing each other and shit like that. The best
That was a
part.
pretty common thing back then.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was.
You're roofing your boy? I mean, come on, man.
I know.
That was a common thing back then.
It's
for
pretty.
wrestlers.
Right.
Okay.
It seemed like it was a common thing. Just Incredible is all over this thing. And Just Incredible, pardon the phrase, seems like a very credible source. Like he's talking the whole time, and he's like, this is the way back then. RVD said it. So the fallout from this is that Tommy Dreamer got fired from the promotions that he's with, right?
No.
Impact suspended indefinitely.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Suspended indefinitely from Impact is what Impact officially came out with. He has
as a guy who wasn't on the flight, Tommy Dreamer being suspended for this is pretty strange because it's just him saying, I spent a lot of time with Ric Flair, and he's just an old man who is basically bitching about C culture. I will not say that word anymore. I hate it. I hate when people say that word. It's a bullshit fucking concept. But it's him saying, oh, yeah, well, we used to do this back in the day. I've never seen Ric Flair force himself on anybody. Hey, Tommy Dreamer, just because you've never seen Ric Flair force himself on anybody doesn't mean that Ric Flair hasn't forced himself on anybody. The story that this chick says is that Ric Flair walks down in his robe. All he's wearing is his robe. As Zach alluded to in his opening, he was whipping his dick around like a helicopter.
impressive.
And he kind of presses this chick against the, when you're on a plane, they're in the gals are the flight attendants are in that area that's got the coolers and all the ginger ales and shit like that.
Way in the back.
Yeah. And that he wouldn't let her go. He was trying to get her to touch his dick, and she was like, no, I won't. And she doesn't say that she touched his dick. She doesn't say that he grabbed her breasts or grabbed her hoo-ha or anything. But she does say, I have to live with this. This is something that I have to live with, which I'm sympathetic to. And I'm not here to litigate whether or not Ric Flair did that. What's more interesting to me is, will Ric Flair survive this? I think the answer is yes. The person even asks Jim Ross, why did you fire Kurt Hennig? And why did you suspend Goldust when all Goldust did was the flight attendant even says he was the only one that came to my aid and told Rick, like, hey, leave her alone. But Goldust did grab the microphone and started serenading his ex-wife, Terry Runnels, to where JR had to be like, dude, you're making a fool of yourself. Stop it. So I guess
I really need to see this because I'm like starting to get confused on this one. Okay, go ahead, finish.
I guess my question is, will Ric Flair survive this? Will Ric Flair ever show up on Major League Wrestling television again? Be it AEW.
You're not talking about MLW.
I'm not. No. I'm talking about AEW
Car Shield commercial.
AEW as Andrade's manager or WWE television again.
Okay, I'll start with WWE. Tupier, I don't know if you caught this or not, but in the opening montage, before we even get to, the actual Raw show itself, you hear the Ric Flair woo, and, at the very, first 10 or 15 seconds, and, they show on, blah, 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 then, now, forever. There was no Ric Flair woo on Monday Night Show. Okay? Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, it was on Friday, because I was actually looking for it Friday, because I was wondering if they would take it out. It was on there Friday. But yeah, and they replaced the image of him with the Ultimate Warrior, which is better.
I mean, I don't get that either. But I'll say this: if WWE forgave Hulk Hogan, I'm inclined to believe they'll forgive Ric Flair. Now, the AEW side, Tony Khan doesn't really have much investment in Ric Flair. You can bring him in for Andrade or not. I don't know if he's going to do it or not. My gut tells me that he's going to take this and let it slide. See Tessa Blanchard. Not saying that Tessa Blanchard needs to be on AEW's women's division, but she is arguably the hottest or the biggest, better choice of words, female wrestler that's not signed to a major promotion. Tony Khan has not did anything. Vince hasn't done anything, so take that for what it's worth. If I had to guess, WWE will always have a home for Ric Flair, especially with Charlotte being there. AEW is probably going to take a pass.
Yeah, I think it was likely that he was going to show up on AEW soon, and I don't think
that's why I think
happening.
They got rid of Chavo.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well, to phase him out and bring Rick in. And,
which at the time made sense. Okay, but now...
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Now it's kind of like, okay, you can't bring Chavo back now, can you, at this point? I mean, that doesn't even seem like that's even feasible, the way that he kind of... Andrade did Chavo, but didn't do, I guess, Jose is the other guy or whatever that doesn't say anything, just stands there and just looks stupid. Jose basically, escapes the wrath. It really felt like that was, especially after the Triple Mania match with Kenny Omega and Andrade, it just felt like that was the natural progression to that angle. You know what I'm saying? And then you would have, I would assume that Omega would drop the AAA Mega title back to Andrade with Ric Flair in the corner. Now, that seems like that's up in the air.
Yeah, and, Mexico will still have him. They don't give a shit.
Okay, there you go. I mean, if you want to say AAA is one of the major promotions, you can go that route. I think AEW is just going to take a pass. I really do.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, the AEW audience is full of social justice warriors, for better or worse. I'm a social justice fan, but a lot of these folks are taking things to extreme. Not saying that I necessarily need to see Ric Flair on TV, but I mean, there's a lot of these AEW fans that say, the women should have 50% of the screen time, and that's just completely stupid because the way the women's division is, like, nobody wants to see 1 hour of it compared to all of the amazing hot talent we have for men. So I'm getting away from the subject. Basically what I'm saying is it's impossible for AEW to survive the PR of bringing him back so immediately. Now, does the thing blow over? He's completely denied forcing himself on the woman also. Like, he's never denied a ton of stuff that he's done. He's done a lot of terrible stuff and completely owned up to it. He says he didn't do it. And, I mean, what are you going to do? It's a plane ride 20 years ago. Her word against his. I mean, I wasn't there. None of us were there. A lot of people want to, litigate this and derail him. I think a lot of this shit was known about Ric Flair. It's just that it's all of a sudden in the news.
That's why
and people are getting mad, and it's kind of annoying that it's like I knew this story. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
that's
now you're gonna get mad about it.
That's what I was going to say. I thought I knew this too, but then when we were talking about this before we started to record, Bill was telling me, this person was there, that person was there. I was like, what? No, okay, maybe I don't know this story. So that's why I really can't speak on this intelligently. Even as a Ric Flair guy, I've met him personally. To me, he is the greatest wrestler of all time. He is the guy, my number one guy, above Rock, above Austin, above Naito, above everybody else. It all starts with Ric Flair. So that's probably the reason why I haven't rushed to watch this. All that being said, I thought I knew this, so that's probably a reason why I didn't rush to watch it to begin with. And now the fact that it really sounds like, my boy did some shit, I don't want to necessarily, add to the adage of you don't want to ever meet your heroes, because if it's that bad, I know me well enough to where I'm like, damn, dog, you.
Well, as St. Louis boxing legend Ryan Coyne texted me earlier today, he said, is it Harvey Weinstein bad? No. Is it Bill Cosby bad? No. But it's terrible. It's
not good.
Okay, so
it's
like
not
I said,
good.
That doesn't make me want to, go home and feed the cats and watch
This
this
is
shit.
kind of all shit that I assumed we already knew about Ric Flair. Like this,
that's the thing.
It didn't shock me. It's kind of like when they found the whatever it's called in Mark McGuire's locker when he was in the middle of the home
or whatever.
Yeah, when he was in the middle, it's like I always thought that we knew that baseball players were taking steroids. It's like I didn't think it was a big. Not that it's not a big deal. It's not comparable to sexual assault. That's not what I'm saying. It's so fucking fucked up to talk about this shit. I just wanted to talk about wrestling, but here we are.
We got predictions still, so we gotta go back to wrestling here in a second.
I know. It's out of my hands basically, and if I had it my way, if I thought that justice would be served, then Ric Flair would never show up on TV again.
I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I don't. In this scenario in 2021, I don't have a confidence in the justice system, whether it's Ric Flair or anybody else.
Not
that would
even
have
in the
enough
justice
money.
system. This has nothing to do with the justice system. This is nobody's pressing charges. They settled out of court. Like you can find it. They settled out of court. That's the worst thing that Tommy Dreamer said. He goes, well, if she thought that there was a real injustice done to her, then she wouldn't have settled out of court and she would have prosecuted him to the fullest extent of the law. It's like Tommy Dreamer. It's like, come on, just
you got daughters.
You're a public figure,
if
man.
I'm not mistaken, he's got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
He might just want to sit down and just shut the fuck up.
He sounds like a dumbass boomer when he's talking about, oh, well, my haircut offends people now. Everything offends somebody now. It's like, you just sound like a dumbass boomer. Just sit the fuck down, boomer, and just wait to fucking die.
Stop, man. Jesus Christ.
Just shut the fuck up, though. Like, what are you doing?
No, this is probably something he probably should have sat out, especially, like I said, if I'm not mistaken,
at the same
he has
time,
one
I'm not
daughter,
sure if he
2.
should have lost all of his jobs. I mean, that also seems...
I don't think he's lost
funny.
all of his jobs.
He's the first guy to really suffer a loss, because almost all the other guys have been dead that they're talking about. But it's the old guard of wrestling, right? I mean, you got guys like Tommy Dreamer defending, this behavior. If they would have had the Undertaker on there, he would have been defending it. He loved the old times whenever the boys were doing stuff. And imagine if they did an episode on Wrestler's Court, how absolutely terrible it would be.
There's a really... Sorry to bring.
I was just gonna say he thinks all these dudes that just sit around and play video games and stay healthy are completely lame. He would much rather have them drugging each other's drinks and women's drinks, and he thinks that's the coolest shit ever. Like fuck the Undertaker.
There's a really interesting part at the end of this Dark Side of the Ring where JR takes all the blame. He's like, I was in charge of the talent. He's like, I think it's weird that I'm supposed to be in to make sure that adults are acting like adults. He's like, but ultimately it falls on me. And then he starts talking about guys that came after this era. So this happened in 2002, right?
Okay.
He starts talking about guys, and then it starts showing guys like John Cena and shit. And he goes, and these guys learn from their predecessors. He's like, these guys die when they're 50. These guys die without 2 nickels to rub together. He goes, they learn from their predecessors, and this shit doesn't happen anymore. It's actually really interesting, and I've heard people talk shit on Dark Side of the Ring that it's salacious with the reenactments and shit like that, which I get. Like, I don't want to see the reenactments either. I wish it would just be the documentary part of it, but it is interesting to watch. It's
one of my favorite series.
It's a hell of a show to watch.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite series. I'm a little upset. Like I said, I haven't watched it, but I don't want to taint anything more about Ric Flair than what it's already tainted. But
Well,
I'll get to it. I'm sure I will. I'll get to it.
let me ask you this.
This is banned from ringside.
Did you watch NXT 2.0 this week?
You know I did.
What'd you think?
It's more of the same, and my biggest question for the second week was, well, who's this? Who's that? How's this happening? Why is that happening? The matches themselves are okay, but like for Joe Gacy, I've seen Joe Gacy in Evolve Wrestling before, and that Joe Gacy was more on the lines of like Eddie Kingston. Him and Eddie Kingston were a tag team at one point. So, I mean, a little over-the-top, violent, hard-hitting, things along those lines. This Joe Gacy was like the complete opposite. You know, this is my safe space. You know, we can hang out here. It was just, it's stuff like that that's going to make NXT hard to watch at spots.
Zach, did you watch it? I'm going to take that as a no.
He's dead.
Uh-oh, he's breaking up. I did watch it.
Yeah,
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
I did.
What'd you think about it?
I mean, it's different and throwing a lot of new faces at us, and I am, you know, we're going to get these short matches, and we're going to get people that aren't necessarily good because the whole idea is for them to get better on television. It's just a different show, and I mean, it's fine. It's fresh, and I'm watching it, and you know, the main event was good. You know, Roderick Strong, Kushida was fine. Nobody gives a shit about the cruiserweight title. I mean, not even me.
Don't say that. You ain't right.
I mean, I mean, 6 months ago, I would have been super excited about that match, and then, I mean, they set up, went to commercial, they came home, went to the finish. I mean, it was fine. It was just whatever. But, you know, like, we are getting to see some people and some new faces, and, you know, that part is fun. And, you know, seeing how folks react on live television, because it's super hard. But we do get the scripted promos. A lot of the stuff I did not like. I did not enjoy, I should say. But as a kind of a social experiment, as a wrestling fan, I mean, it might get old, but for now, it's better than NXT was over the past, like, I don't know, month or two. I really wasn't feeling it, so at least it's something fresh.
I did not hate it. I liked this week more than last week. It reminded me of the old NXT where they would kind of build up characters. Like, I liked the Andre Chase University segment.
Timothy Thatcher?
Did that come later?
No, I'm saying that reminded me of the Timothy Thatcher segments.
Well, friend of the show, Michael Zanter, put on Friends of BFR. He was like, it was like they threw 50 guys at the screen and nobody got over, which that's a fair argument, because it really was like they just kept throwing guys after guys after guys. But it did seem like they were trying to build characters, which I also appreciate, because that's how we got Bray Wyatt. That's how we got Sanity. You know, that's how we got a lot of those early NXT characters that really made it on the main roster.
Okay.
Now, it really is very different than the old NXT, but they did keep some stuff. You know, like they kept Ciampa. Ciampa seems proud to be there and happy to be there, and maybe he's just really good at selling it. But I didn't hate it. I loved the Briggs and Jensen part about those two guys that got into a bar fight and decided to become
Cesaro.
Sheamus and Cesaro. Well, they had the best of 7. That was during the best of 7, right?
Yeah, but their whole bond was they started in a bar and they started to fight, and that's how they became.
I mean, I'm not going to argue about the differences between Sheamus and Cesaro and Briggs and Jensen. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying they threw a lot of wrestlers at it, but I didn't necessarily hate it. It wasn't. It's not the same thing as the old NXT.
It's not.
It's not. It seems different. It also seems kind of interesting. No?
Okay. That the two things that you just brought up, it sounds like something else. Okay? If we're going to do developmental, then I need you to do developmental. That means something more original. Andre Chase University was Timothy Thatcher when he had the kids sitting around. He would take one of the kids out, put the arm,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, same concept.
They're different characters, though. Andre Chase had a big U for university on his fucking shirt. It's more like Chris Nowinski, actually.
Okay, you're kind of making my point. Now just go back to the tag team.
You hate wrestling characters?
No, I'm just saying, go back to the tag team argument you just had.
Guy hates wrestling, okay.
Those two are Sheamus and Cesaro. They had beef beforehand, and now they're a tag team now. That's the bar. They did the same thing. So all I'm saying is, I agree with you. It's different, but there's elements of same storylines that we've seen before.
The funniest thing I saw was with that Joe Gacy. When Joe Gacy...
You like that?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, I liked it, but I also liked... I also thought it was funny that Fox News put a headline up on their website today about Joe Gacy that says, WWE trolls woke lefties with new character. And then it said, well, this guy started using all these phrases and people started booing, but it was unclear. It was unclear whether they were booing because they hate woke lefties or they don't like politics being brought into the wrestling. And I was like, has this motherfucking douche ever watched wrestling before? This is what wrestling is. You're supposed to try to get boos. It was so funny to me. I think I retweeted it from BFR Pod.
I haven't read it yet.
It's the article is hilarious because it's like somebody it's like my mom wrote an article about pro wrestling.
That has never watched pro wrestling before.
No, never watched it before. Because as a lefty, I love that Joe Gacy character. I think it's funny. I think it's funny to call the wrestling ring a safe space. I think that's funny.
Okay.
Now remember, I'm a Kurt Angle fan. The three eyes.
Good.
Don't forget. I love the goofiness.
Okay. And that's fine. This is where...
Jano Kenta.
Yeah.
4.5 stars.
Okay, but Jesus Christ. Von Wagner. Okay, this is what I'm saying with stuff like that. When you're dropping guys like... Hang on, shit. Grayson Waller all of a sudden comes back onto the scene without Drake Maverick. Okay, didn't even recognize who the fuck he was.
Right.
Von Wagner comes back, didn't know who the fuck he was.
Yep. It's almost like they're starting a promotion from scratch.
The chick that crossed paths with Frankie Monet, and it's going to have her own talk show next week. I can't even think of her name.
Something Lash.
Yeah, Lace Lash or something. Come on, man. I mean, damn. WWE has always done
You have to reset your expectations, though.
But they've always done a good job with the vignettes, the production. This person's coming. That person's coming.
You didn't like Tony D'Angelo?
That shit was straight Sopranos, dog. You got more fucking followers than he does. I mean, damn. So this motherfucker's gonna be the next coming of the NXT superstar, and you got more fucking followers than he does.
If Tony D'Angelo is listening to this and he hears Jason say you got more followers than he does, That guy might go hang himself.
Look.
Just don't say that. Zach, what do you think?
Just call it real.
Yeah, there's like one major standout, and it's Braun Breaker, even though it's still the dumbest name. Like, I don't know why he can't be Rex Steiner.
Hold on a second.
Oh, really?
Why are you making that face about Braun Breaker? I love Braun Breaker.
The name is brutal.
The name's stupid, but he sounds just like Scott Steiner, right, Zach?
Look, he did the Steiner recliner, the whole shebang. Look, I get it. That's what makes it so frustrating.
Let's listen to Zach.
He looks awesome for the amount of time that he's been doing this, and his slams are crazy, and I mean, he's super athletic, and it's just dumb that they won't, like, you have a built-in gimmick. Just let him be what he is. And they're doing this with all these people. Like, a lot of them are athletes that were elsewhere, and they'll say it, and they'll be like, oh, this person played football for Division I football. It's like, just tell us where he's
brothers
from. Like,
wrestled back in the day. You know, that's the one thing I will say about this new NXT 2.0. It's more athletes, bigger athletes that have some sort of pedigree that you can go to Wikipedia or whatever and see Chad Stevenson or whatever. You can see that he's wrestled or whatever the case may be. So in that scenario, you can see what the blueprint is. I just don't like the way that they're introducing characters, because you're doing it like this and you're not getting anybody over.
All right. So would you agree with this, Jason? We'll just wait and see how it goes. No? You're anti it
right now. Yeah, because they're not doing it in a way.
You don't want to wait and see how it plays out.
No, not at all.
No,
because this is. I see what they're doing right now, and it's just going to be a bunch of people that are being thrown up on the screen, and there's very few people
after 2 weeks.
Okay, who's Dante Chen? Okay.
Ooh, I like that guy, the Singapore guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
He squashed Trey Baxter like it was nobody's business.
Poor Trey Baxter.
Right. So Trey Baxter left AEW to come over here to get that work. That's your reward? I mean, this Dante Chen, I didn't even know who the fuck he was.
That's what you're doing? You're here to fight the battles for Trey Baxter?
Look, my point is, I didn't even know who Dante Chen was.
He's got a job.
I didn't know who Dante Chen was, and all of a sudden, he comes out, squashes the dog shit out of Trey Baxter.
That shouldn't be your worry.
No, the fact is, if you're going to build up a Dante Chen, at least have a vignette a couple weeks beforehand.
They didn't build him up. It's just
they don't build
a couple
any
weeks
of these
before.
Jokers up.
It's only been 2 weeks,
dude. That's
new
not
show.
Acceptable. That is not acceptable. That is not an acceptable argument. You knew you were going to do this. You announced this, and you didn't put effort up front. That's bullshit.
This is banned from ringside.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, what you getting ready to do? We can't leave yet.
Fucked up. No, I was trying to play the
Yeah, the other one,
the
one
prediction
I have
music.
Yeah, the one I have marked on mine.
I have it marked too. It says intro music.
Does that say prediction music too, or just say intro?
I'm gonna make it say prediction music right now. I'm gonna write on it right now. Reba's here. Okay. Well, let's keep arguing about Braun Breaker. I don't know.
It's going to last like 30 more seconds.
Bear with us, everybody.
You do the predictions like with silent background. It's quite okay.
See, there you go. It's over.
Yeah. Did you hear Zach? He said we can do the predictions with the silent background. No, we can't. This is why he's not a producer. This is why he's just talent.
You gotta let this man quarterback hush up.
Fuck that. All right, we got some predictions coming for Extreme Rules this Sunday.
Is there an Extreme Rules step on any of these matches?
No,
that's fucking ridiculous.
There's not. It's just called Extreme Rules.
WWE, dude, just. God, you can't get out your way sometimes.
Let me ask you this. Are you going to watch this live?
It's this Sunday. I don't have plans Sunday. I'll watch the Steelers, watch, other football. Yeah, I'll probably watch it live. Why not?
Are you going to watch it live, Zach?
Maybe.
Are you going to watch it at all?
I'll be coming. No, I'll watch it. I'll be coming back from the coast. I tell you what, if I don't watch it live on Sunday, I probably won't watch it, though.
I'll tell you what. It's a shit-ass card. It is not a very exciting card. So
I won't
please
go that
check it
far.
out. Listen to us for the next 15 minutes.
I ain't gonna go that far.
Okay,
It ain't
so
shit.
here, I mean, we'll start with the biggest match first. Okay, we
Really?
have Liv Morgan versus Carmela.
Okay, that's a good start. I'll go first. I'll take Liv at this point. I mean, Carmella's doing nothing. You can build Liv up for something eventual at some point down the line. Carmella's easy on the eyes. Liv is a little less easy on the eyes, but ultimately.
Dude, Liv's way hotter than Carmela.
Are you out your goddamn mind?
No, I've seen them both in real life, like up close, and Liv's way hotter.
Okay, you can tell it how you want to tell it. I'll take Carmella in the kick-out game, but I'll take Liv to win on Sunday.
Have you ever heard the parable of the old man standing at the top of the hill with all the sheep down at the bottom of the hill?
Is this the colors reference?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No. And the old man, the kid goes, "Hey, Grandpa, let's go down there and fuck one of those sheep. Let's run down there and fuck one of those sheep.
No, kid, let's walk down and fuck them all.
Let's walk down there and fuck them all."
It's in colors, man.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
My point is, Carmella and Liv are both very attractive women, and you guys arguing about it is not doing anything for us to get sponsors here on this podcast. I'm taking Carmella. Who you taking, Zach?
I'm taking Liv.
Can't wait to get that point. Okay, we got the Usos versus Street Profits. I'll take the Usos. Who you got, Zach?
I got the Usos. I mean, we got to keep them belts until Survivor Series because we're gonna do that, run that whole bloodline thing back too. So,
Jason Cornelius Bell.
Man, I really want to take Street Profits, but I'll take the Usos. I don't think it has anything to do with Survivor Series per se. You can do Street Profits versus RK Bro. You can do RK Bro versus Bloodline or Usos. Either one would work, but Usos probably will win.
so what? Unless Jimmy Uso gets another DUI.
Stop.
In which case he's also
Come on,
gonna
man.
get the
Come on.
Intercontinental
Dude, really?
title, too.
Dude, if he gets another DWI, they'll just put him over again. That's all they do is put him
Jesus
over if he gets a
fucking Christ.
DWI.
That's what I said. He's going to get the Intercontinental title too.
It's like me getting pulled
Hang on,
over with
hang
my
on.
shirt off.
Hang on. Two beer. Who's the Intercontinental Champion right now?
Shinsuke? No. Who is the Intercontinental? Shinsuke?
Bill, who's the Intercontinental Champion right now?
Damian Priest?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Who is
He's
it?
the United States champion.
Okay, at least two beers right on that. Two beer, you
Oh,
sure Shinsuke's
Apollo Crews.
You sure Shinsuke's the Intercontinental Champion?
I don't know. That's my guess.
But your guess is right.
Well, then why'd you...
That's kind of my point.
That's really more about the title than about me.
I think it's going.
I mean, he's right about that.
I think it's
He's
kind
right
of
about that.
I think it's kind of indictment on both accounts. You got
I mean,
a podcast.
if you say so.
and
If
the
you
title
say
is not
so.
worth it.
Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss. Who you got? Jason's getting pissed, man. He is worked up.
I'm not worked up.
Well, he is worked up.
Please, I just got to keep you two jokers in line. Coming in.
You remember that old Saturday Night Live sketch where they do Cyrano de Bergerac, but it's Cyrano de Bergerac, but it's Tim Meadows, and he's instead of his nose being long, it's really wide. That's what you look like.
Fuck you. You know I hate my nose to begin with. I never want to bet against Charlotte Flair. I really don't want to do it in this point, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to take Alexa Bliss.
Oh, my God.
I think Charlotte is going to move to SmackDown. I think that's part of the reason why I think they're going to ultimately take the title off her. The rates for 16, I think, ultimately is the bigger issue. I don't want to do it. I really think that they're going to make this thing happen. I'm going to take Alexa Bliss in the upset pick of the night over one Charlotte Flair.
All right, I'm going to let my wife pick for me here. She just walked outside, my beautiful wife. Aaron.
With the Queen of the Ring underneath her?
Edna Guerrero. Aaron, I'm going to let you choose Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Champion who are you going to take?
Charlotte Flair.
That's a good pick, babe, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Who are you taking, Zach?
Here you two jokers go.
I'm taking Alexa because
Thank
they
you.
gotta
Holy
get that number up.
shit.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
This is why we're soulmates.
They're seemingly not stopping with this gimmick. Like, we're going to keep with the doll gimmick. They're going to keep trying to sell dolls. And, yeah. they
Thank
gotta get
you.
them-
Didn't
Charlotte's
she
number
kind
up.
of admit the other night, though? I didn't watch it. Didn't she kind of admit the other night, though, that she's just been playing mind games, that she knows that there's nothing supernatural? Oh, by the way, speaking of supernatural, I watched that movie Malignant on HBO Max the other day by that guy that made all the Conjuring movies. That movie's got one of the most bonkers twists of any horror movie you'll ever see with about 30 minutes left. It is...
I don't even think I've even heard of that movie.
It's called Malignant. It's directed by that Asian dude, David Wan or whatever. Like, he makes good horror movies. He made Fast and Furious 7. He made He made this movie called Malignant. I'm telling you, the twist at the end of this movie, it's so stupid. It turned me. I was like, I hate this movie, and then the twist happened. I was like, I fucking love this movie. This fucking movie fucking rules.
You are so simple.
Fuck yeah, I am. All right, so least to most likely to win the U.S. title, we have Damian Priest, Jeff Hardy, and Sheamus. I'm going to put Jeff Hardy. You know what? I'm going to put Sheamus as least.
No, you are not. Don't
Damian
do this.
Priest
Don't do
as
this.
second.
Don't do
and
this.
Jeff
Don't
Hardy
do this.
as most
Don't do this.
likely to win.
Don't do
What do you got,
this.
Zach?
Unreal.
Wow.
I'll do whatever I want.
Clearly.
Speaking of twist,
Mr. Tom Brady.
yeah, Jeff Hardy is not winning this. He's the least likely. Sheamus, maybe, but I still think that Priest is going to be the guy. So Priest to win, Sheamus maybe, Jeff Hardy definitely not.
I'm telling you, this is when Vince starts trolling people. He's like, you guys were mad about Jeff Hardy being in the 24/7, so I'm going to give him the U.S. title.
No. Damian Priest retains, most likely. Sheamus in the middle makes sense. Jeff Hardy, there's no reason.
Can't wait
Zero.
to get these points.
Good. If you get these points, then I cannot wait to come back next week and just take the dump of dumps on the U.S. title and the U.S. title picture.
Finn Balor as the Demon versus Roman Reigns. You got
I'll go first.
Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I think
everybody's taking Roman Reigns.
the bad part about it is that they kind of showed their hand with the
Well, this is the first time the Demon will ever lose.
second time.
When did the Demon lose again before?
In NXT, I think it was with Samoa Joe, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think that's.
No, this is the Demon is undefeated on the main roster. The Demon lost on NXT at some point. I want to say it's Samoa Joe.
I think you're right.
Don't quote me on that.
So we're all taking Roman Reigns?
We're all taking Roman Reigns. They
That's
showed their
boring.
hand with the crown jewel match with Brock Lesnar. As much as people want to try to make this thing about, oh, the Demon hasn't lost. The Demon, no.
Okay.
This ain't the same thing. Okay, this ain't that Roman Reigns that lost to Finn Balor, so Finn Balor could beat Seth Rollins to win the Universal title. Not the same thing. We're going to get, here's the receipt. This is a different Roman Reigns, different time. Roman Reigns retains.
Last match, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch.
I'm over this shit already.
Yep. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Becky Lynch.
Okay.
I think it would be silly to give it back to Bianca at this point.
I'm taking Bianca Belair just because I don't care anymore. This shit sucks. What we should start doing is predictions about the G1 because that would be more fun and more unpredictable.
Well, we could do a prediction to night 3 right now.
Look at your Cosby laugh. That was such a Cosby laugh. You're like your lips were blowing.
Let's see.
I'm taking Bianca
Zack
Belair.
Sabre versus Shingo. Who wins?
I'm taking Bianca Belair. Jason's taking Becky Lynch. He taking Zach.
I'm taking Becky, and I'm not happy about it.
Nope. This is a shit program that started out with a shit match on a good card that ended up being a shit card. Can we all agree on that?
No, it wasn't a shit card.
It like ruined like the whole thing, and then
It ruined the whole thing.
It didn't ruin
I
the
was
whole
watching
thing.
it with my wife. It ruined the whole
It
thing.
didn't ruin the whole thing. No, it didn't.
It ruined the whole
It
thing.
did not ruin the whole thing. SummerSlam had its good points. That was the few bad points about it. We did a whole episode on it. Come on.
All right.
Act like you guys weren't there.
That was our prediction.
I will say it's super annoying that Bianca picks a fight as a babyface and gets laid out.
Yeah, they make the babyface character so fucking dumb in WWE.
It's hard to watch sometimes. I agree with that.
In her hometown, she got presented with the key
Well,
to the
everybody
city.
loses in their hometown in WWE.
Yeah.
That's also Vince's thing. It doesn't make any sense. That just should make us happy that there's AEW and NJPW to watch.
Even though AEW's not coming here.
Hold on.
This is Banned from Ringside.
All right, we got some birthdays this week. Matt Hardy is 47. Kairi Sane. What happened to Kairi Sane?
She went to
Retired.
Japan, and they shut down NXT Japan, so she's kind of up in the air. Hopefully she goes back to Stardom.
She's 33. Happy birthday, Kairi Sane. Angel Garza, or as I like to call him, Angel Garza. He is only 29.
Him and Berto
I'll
had a
give
good
him
match.
another 3-week push for his birthday.
That Singaporean guy, Dante Chen, had the same finisher that, what do you call that? It's not the, what do you call that thing? The wing clipper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephanie McMahon, 45.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you, Aaron. That makes me feel better that I said it first and you said it 2 seconds behind me. I thought you would be older than I was.
Sonya Deville is 28.
Wow. Okay.
That means I was watching wrestling before Sonya Deville was born. That makes me feel pretty good. Asuka is 40. Buddy Murphy is 33. Steve Blackman is 58. I love Steve Blackman.
He was brutal.
I love Steve
He had a
Blackman.
couple of
Kendo
sticks.
sticks? You don't like kendo sticks?
Not in his hands, no.
Jason Jordan, R.I.P. He's 33.
Dude, he's not dead.
Oh, he's not?
No.
What's he do?
He's backstage on Raw. He
Oh,
had the neck
good. Good
injury.
for you, Jason Jordan. I'm glad a black man could get ahead of America. And Candice LeRae is 36.
Pregnant and showing.
And pregnant.
And you ain't shit, by the way. That black joke, I should come over there and beat your
Hey,
ass.
everybody. We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so thank you for listening to our podcast.
True story.
For Vice, he's going through some medical stuff, so everybody hit
Pray
him
for
up.
my boy.
Yep. Feel Better Vice for Joey O'Farrell.
Check.
Because fine, I mean, whatever. For
No, you-
Murray, the Murray Man Murray.
Check.
For Lucha Chris.
Check.
For Sideways in Time podcast. For Patrick.
Patriot Pack, I got you.
Patriot Pat, thanks.
Check.
For Two Beer Zach Pullman. For Jason Cornelius Bell. I am
Check.
Bill
Check.
Vagey. And everybody boo the heels.
Ooh, bitch.
See you guys.
Right now.
For Reba, my dog.
Check. My
Zach just hung up.
Right,
He's like,
run,
see you
run,
motherfuckers.
run.
For Edna Mae Josephine, my heart.
The Queen of the Ring. Check.
Yeah. For my wife, Erin, who's looking all hot. Look how long her hair is.
Her hair
look
is
how
long.
hot she looks.
Her hair is long. And the real Queen of the Ring.
Oh,
Check.
Black Lives Matter.
Check.
Support your local weed dealer.
Double check.
Support your local podcasts.
And the restaurants.
And boo the heels.
Ooh, bitch.